All right, my name is Seghers. I was born in Illinois. I grew up in Las Vegas. My mom moved us out there when we were 3. I moved out here in 2002. I started tattooing shortly before that, and that's what I do now. I tattoo, and now I'm running for city council.
Rich in game, Fortune Hall of Fame, clean without a stain. Ain't no names, just my alias. Under radar shit can be caught.
What was life like before you decided to take this path, running for city council, opening up your own tattoo shop? You said you're from Illinois. How long were you out there for before you moved to Las Vegas?
I was in Illinois till my mom moved us to Vegas when I was 3. It was just my mom. I didn't know my dad. I didn't know my dad's name until just a few years ago. So I grew up with a single mother, and then I have a little sister. So we grew up together. She didn't know her dad, and I didn't know my dad. You grow older now and you realize how hard that was, now having kids. I grew up playing sports, everything, had some good friends, started getting into trouble as I got into my teens. I grew up in East Las Vegas, which is not the best place to grow up. We did move around a lot, switching schools, being around different people and everything else. Got into freshman year of high school, got kicked out of high school, just started getting in trouble. Then sophomore year, ended up going to prison. What I was doing just kept escalating, kept getting in trouble. Wasn't, had no direction, had nothing going on. Sports wasn't an option anymore because my grades weren't good enough. And so I went to prison. I went to jail. On my 17th birthday, they transferred me to county jail. I went to prison, and that was the eye-opener. You start seeing, you show up and you get on the yard, and I remember sitting there about a week in the intake, and the lights went out, the power went out, and you just started to sound like a war zone. It sounded like they were throwing grenades, and they were throwing percussion grenades, and they were shooting at people because the lights were out and people weren't going back to their units. And that's when things got real. It got really real. When I was in county jail, they had me up in the top floor in Vegas, and I was up there with killers. I was up there with people that were down on death row, that were fighting to get off. Going through the appeal process. I was 60 years old, and I still was just going through the motions. You still think you're going to get out, or maybe you are. You're not really prepared. And then I got sentenced. I thought I was going to get out. I thought I was going to get out probation. The judge read my sentence, and I said, well, what does that mean? Because the way the legal terms and everything, you don't really understand it.
Right.
And so that means you're going to prison. So a minimum of 3 years to 7 years. And I started crying, and I was just like, wow, okay, all right. And so I got shipped to prison, adult prison, and like I said, that happened in the fish tank. I hit the yard, and you get out there, and there's guards walking around the buildings, and they literally look like Rambo, like they're ready for war, and you're going, what? Okay, what's happening here? And it's like, they'll shoot you. This is what happens. If they say get down, you get down. Yeah. And it's shocking. You're like, wait, what do you really? You're still trying to grasp this. Like, really? And and then you hear people talk about holidays. It's just another day. It's just another birthday or whatever. And you say to yourself, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm going to, no way. That's crazy. And all these different things that you think are crazy. And after a while, it becomes. It becomes your life. You become adapted to it. So then it becomes normal, and you get used to. I don't know if the right word's used to, but seeing things happen isn't it's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's everyday occurrence type of deal.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, And when people say, "Man, I couldn't imagine being there," it's like you're right. Just like I can't imagine being in somebody else's shoes because I'm not there every day, then it is an everyday thing where survival doesn't just mean staying alive. It means staying mentally aware, staying in the moment, being able to control your feelings, honestly, because otherwise you become your own worst enemy.
That must have been different, because like you said, you were a kid.
I was a kid, man.
And just
I was a kid.
That mind change of survival in prison, like how were you able to adapt into something like that?
Well, early on, there was an Indian guy. His name was Billy, and you could tell he's just one of those people. You're like, all right, but he was cool, and he let me borrow some magazines, and then we would always joke, but he would still be very, like, when I would joke with him, he would kind of, you might not want to joke like that, and I would say, okay, and he let me borrow some magazines one day, and I guess I caught him on a bad day, and he said, hey man, where's my magazines at? And I was just joking, and I said, I'll get them to you when I'm done. And he goes, no, you'll go get them right now. And I was like, wait, I didn't realize what was happening. And we were walking over, and he was like, hey man, you can't do that. I'm your friend. If it was somebody else, then then what would happen? We're talking about magazines. And I said, dude, I didn't know, and I think I said, man, just chill out. And we were walking side by side, and he just punched me in my nose. And I was like, what is going on? So right then I realized, all right, I need to pay attention. And, it might not be right, but hey, this is the way this world works. Luckily, I also had early on, I had some people that they looked out for me. They would, they'd been through it. These guys were warriors. They were from all races, not just white, black, Mexican, everybody, man. For some reason, I was very fortunate that I was able to make friends. Maybe it's because I played sports, so I could play handball, I could play volleyball, softball, everything. So I was constantly, integrated with other people, and we were all playing team sports. So you're playing team sports. So I think that helped a lot as far as getting along and making friends that maybe wouldn't normally, bridging gaps that wouldn't normally get bridged. Right. And that carried through. Even then you get involved in you start transferring yards. So then the people that you're with there, it's a different program. Of course people, or people know people that you're friends with or whatever. Right. But all of a sudden you're brand new, and you start. Things happen. You start. It's gangs. It's a world of gangs.
Right. Is it the same way it's kind of depicted in movies, where it's like, where you go in, you have to choose somebody to sit with, or is it more? In
a sense, you do, but you also respect people. There's a mutual respect. I made friends, like I said, just playing sports. So whether it's basketball, volleyball, handball, soccer, you make these relationships where you say, hey man, if something jumps off, I'm going this way, you go this way. So that way we don't meet. It's a bizarre thing, man, but hey man, things happen. And I got transferred to different units. They put me in units with they made a youngster unit, and they put me in there because it was going wild. And the friendships that I had made with the people that had respect, they put me in there, and I was able to calm it down. I calmed down the youngster unit. And you get these youngsters that, just because they think you're something, they think, oh, you've been here, that guy, oh man. So they look at you as somebody that they respect. So now it's up to you to do, what do you do with that respect? Do you send these kids on missions, or are you trying to say, hey man, just do your time and be cool? Because that's what I was trying to do, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't an angel, but after 3 years, I got transferred over to the old Supermax in Nevada, and I spent a year in a hole over there. I got out of there, and I went to my first parole board from the hole. You think they're gonna let me out, going to the parole board from the hole? So I got dumped for another year, and you start to not even think about the outside world, because this is it. This is what you know.
Right.
And you prepare yourself for that. not even thinking about it, you know. So I went to my next parole board, and they told me I was going to be released. I made it, and they literally handed me a box with some clothes, and you know, opened the door, and that was it. And then I had a public defender that came over, drove me to the bus stop, and then I had to take a bus from Reno all the way through California to Vegas. It took me 24 hours to get home. My first day being out on the streets, I had to take a bus to all these different bus stops, and you know, there was a guy, it's crazy, man, I don't think about this stuff, you know, I don't really talk about it all the time, but there was a guy, I remember he was having all these problems with his girlfriend, and he's just complaining. The people up in front were, you know, we're all talking, you know, we're sitting on a bus for 8 hours, and after about 6 hours, I just said, hey man, then I showed him, I had my prison ID, and I said, hey man, I just got out of prison after 4 years. You know, you're complaining about things that aren't that big of a deal. I was like, we get to get off this bus, man. I get to go sit in grass. I didn't get to sit in grass at night for 4 years. You know, you think about that. Now, I brought that on myself. That was the best thing that could have happened to me. Going to prison was the absolute best thing that could have happened to me. I easily would have killed somebody, or somebody would have killed me. There was no future for me. You know, what was I going to do? I was out of high school. I dropped out of high school. There was nothing.
Right.
So
would you say, because prison is supposed to be a rehabilitation center, right? Like that's what they.
That's what they say. That's what they say. It made me an animal. It did.
Because you're locked up in a cage, right?
It brings out things in you. Those things when you're like, man, that dude did what?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a few years later, you're that dude. You know, you're that dude. That's because you can't understand what led that person to be a certain way. You know, it's like a dog.
Yeah.
The puppies, man, they're cool. If you keep that dog locked up in a cage and you're feeding them scraps, you're not teaching that dog how to run, you're not giving them exercise, you're not giving them the proper programming, that's not rehabilitation. You're not taking their focus away from negative things. You're not creating anything positive. You're there, you're babysitting right. Me. You know, you're as a guard, you're babysitting me. You just shoot me when I'm not doing what you say. Literally, you get shot, you get tased, you know. I mean, I've been in situations where, if you've ever seen that movie Heat, at the end of when they're robbing that bank, and there's just gunfire. And I mean, you're laying on the ground, trying to bury your face as deep as you can into the ground, hoping that a bullet doesn't hit you in your face. You know, and this is a regular thing. And I mean, I'm not saying it happens every day. I'm not even saying it happens every month. But if it happens every 2 months, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's something you gotta constantly think about.
Yeah, man. And it gets to the point where it's so ingrained in you that as soon as when you're inside, as soon as you hear that shotgun hit the bars on the guard tower, it's just boom, and then you hear that shotgun, you know, that pump. You're hitting the ground, or you're diving into a cell or something, man, because when you're inside, everything's ricocheting, everything's hitting, everything's going crazy. You know, so you see a lot of things, you see a lot of stuff go on. You can't really explain it. It happens. You surround yourself with people that, again, are in the same position, or you think are your friends, that have your best interest in mind, and you think these people are down for you. You think that you're down for them. You're going to die for these people. They're going to die for you. And a lot of my friends would, but I'll tell you what, I only have a couple of them now that I still talk to from when I was in there, and the only reason why I talk to them is because they got out and they got their stuff together. And I would still die for them. Those are my brothers, you know, and they've got families, we've got families, we talk. If anybody ever gets out for some reason and they find one of us or they find him, we let them know, man, we don't have time for you, man. If you're gonna go this route, we don't have time for you. If you're trying to make a positive change, then yeah, come on with it. You know, let me show you. You know, I got out of prison and I had a friend suggest tattooing to me. I had gotten some prison tattoos, but I didn't know anything about tattooing.
I was actually going to lead into the next question. Is what was that first or what called you into tattooing or just art in general? Were you a drawer before you went in, or was it something?
Yeah, I used to love art. I loved art growing up. I used to send my aunt. I would draw these little characters of like Ricky Henderson from the Athletics. I would draw the Hulk. I would draw, just different comics. And I remember drawing like Jimi Hendrix in class. And people didn't even know who Jimi Hendrix was. I think for me, it's like Biggie says, you remember Rappin' Duke? I remember Rappin' Duke. That was my first mixtape, like actual mixtape. It had the Rappin' Duke. It had Dougie Fresh with the show. It had the original Lottie Dottie. It had UTFO. It had all of that, man. That's what I grew up with. And I told you when we first met, I saw the boombox. I love the boombox because I used to walk down these streets in East Las Vegas. You drove down them now, you would go, what? You were walking down these streets by yourself? And it was like, yeah, man, I was just 6, 7, 8-year-old kid with a boombox or a skateboard, listening to that, listening to Beastie Boys, Run DMC. LL Cool J that dude was my hero, man. There's a picture of me standing in my sweats with my hat and my boombox and everything. Yeah, man. Yeah, I used to put on my cousin Vance. We had a bunk bed, and we would have everybody come in, and we'd have a show where we would lip sync and all that, man. Like that was it. That was literally my first exposure to music. I think from what I can remember, that was it. Beastie Boys and Run DMC, LL Cool J, and then now when there's a lot of things now when you grow up, you start to look back and because you try to figure out how you are the person that you became. Mm-hmm. Why do you feel this way? And then you look at that and you like Run DMC. They did a little bit for everybody. Right. Beastie Boys introduced all kinds of different race everything together. Right. So you go, man, like was that something that was ingrained in me? Or what was it? You remember people that just said certain things to you that I had a little league coach that said in order to be a champion you have to look like a champion, and then since then I've had tattooers that say in order to make money you have to look like money. Smiling Paul told me you can blind him with brilliance, or you can baffle him with bullshit, or you can blind him with brilliance. You can blow smoke. I could tell you whatever I want. I could sing you songs that you might not have ever heard before, but the whole time I'm just copying somebody. I'm not giving you anything new. I'm not giving you anything creative. So these are things where maybe financially, if I jumped on trends and I did what everybody else was doing, maybe I would have 1 million followers. Maybe I would have all this. But I think if you keep it consistent, people will come back to you because that's what you've always done. Right. They know that you're not changing. You're progressing, but you're not selling out. You're not changing with the times.
Staying true to you.
Yeah. Maybe you are changing with the times, And I'm not trying to be like a.
It's like you say, you're progressing, but you got certain trends, like I guess the way styles or how you pull a line or different ways. That's something that you can adapt into your own style as well.
Yeah, you respect the traditions while just making those things better.
Right.
The question as far as tattooing, sorry, and art. Yes, art, a lot of art. I think that was obviously that was my favorite thing. I love math, but I got into art. Again, I always played sports. I always excelled in sports. I always did very well. When I went to prison, I saw my friends get drafted, and they're telling me these guys are going, and I'm like, wow, man. That's when you start. You realize how much you screwed up. You realize I had that. I was as good as that dude. I could do all those things, and so I'm being honest with myself, knowing I could have done that, and also being honest, knowing that I screwed this up, and I need to make a change.
Right.
You know, same thing. When I went to prison, it was still art. It was art, and that was, you know, that's our escape. We're drawing. You could always draw, you know, and you can't take that. You can't take that. You can't take that away. And I'm not saying that again. Poor me. I'm getting things taken away, but in there, that is your escape. You know, poetry. You know, writing a lot of poems, writing. You know, writing all this stuff, you start thinking that, you know, you're some brilliant songwriter or something, you know, and there's very talented people in there people will never be exposed to. I remember dudes, and I'm sure you've been around it, just on the tables, just making beats, or on the doors, and it's going all the way around, and you're just going, man, this is insane. And, you know, so yes, art, sports, you know, if we're not playing sports, then what are we doing? You know, and so yeah, I got out. Guy suggested tattooing to me. I had no idea. I went and talked to a guy. He didn't seem like a good fit for me. It just didn't seem like.
Like the apprentice tattoo. Were you looking for an apprenticeship?
Yeah. Well, I didn't even really know what an apprenticeship entailed at that time. I just thought, okay, I'll tattoo. And the guy that I went to meet, it just didn't seem correct.
Yeah.
And so then I picked up the telephone book and called all the shops in Vegas until somebody said that they would apprentice me. I didn't know that, and now I know the person that says yes over the phone is the person you do not want to apprentice with. And so I did that, and then it turned out that I was working for a guy that was just trying to buy up all the shops, just make assembly line tattooers, you know. The good thing is I met some great people. You know, I met people that are still good friends of mine. You know, I don't talk to them as much, but they're always welcome here, and they're welcome in my house. You know, these are people that my kids can trust. You know, I went from that to another shop, and that shop wasn't the best either. I just ended up going to the second worst shop in town. But I knew that if I could learn how to tattoo, then I wanted to be the best. You know, whatever that meant. You know, then you learn that there's a lot that goes into it. You start learning about history. You learn about the people that came before you. That kind of, you're saying I'm just doing my own thing. Well, you can't just do your own thing when you're tattooing people. You know, there's a specific way that things need to go into the skin.
Right.
It's not like, well, I'm just doing my own thing. I'm just singing these songs. People like it or they don't. Well, okay, but that's not a permanent thing that you're putting into somebody. You can't experiment. I mean, if your friend wants to experiment, then cool, but people that are just coming in, you can't just, oh, all right, cool, I get to try this out.
Like, this is my first time trying this, so
yeah,
I'm lucky.
yeah. I worked on the Vegas Strip, man. It was all tourists. You can bang things out, and you're not going to see them. That was the mentality that the owners of these shops had. Make money, see you later. And the week before Christmas, the dude that I worked for before came into the shop, and he goes, hey, Brian, hey, Mo, you guys work here? And we go, yeah. He goes, not anymore, because I just bought the shop. So we're like, oh, okay. And Mo had worked all around Vegas since the first shop in Vegas. People were calling him as soon as they heard, offering him jobs, and they didn't want to give me a job. A guy named Mike Stevens gave me that shot. He used to always, it was constructive because he would say, you see that? You'll never be that good. And I was just like, oh, what? Yeah, yes, okay. And he, you know, he was a good dude, and he was funny, man. And I met my best friend Buddy there, you know, and I met a lot of good people there also. I went from Mike over to Paradise Tattoo, which was the old Las Vegas tattoos. These guys were the original tattooers in Vegas. They held it down. There was no other shops in Las Vegas and before them.
So there's a lot of heritage.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, and then I learned about making needles. I learned about, you know, I started talking about making ink, and you start hearing these stories. It's the same thing. It was almost like going back to prison in a sense, because these are these old timers. They do things a certain way. They do it for a reason. They're not doing it to be mean, but when you know, when you're using stuff, you put it back.
Right.
It's that simple. You know, it makes your job easier. You can't move stuff around, and then they go to tattoo and where's my stuff? So they're very, very territorial. You know, these guys, when they had these shops, if you tried to open up a shop in Vegas, they would blow your shop up. If you tried to tattoo out of your house, they sent people over to your house to get your stuff, and you weren't tattooing there. You know, and obviously you get older, and things change. You know, but again, that's how they did it. And you know, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from those guys. I learned a lot that I didn't realize I was learning until I wasn't working with them until years later, when I was like, oh man, that's what they meant. There it is.
Started making sense.
There it is. And you know, then I went from there to Pussycats. I worked for Dirk Vermin, who offered us a space where we could all pay rent, we could travel, we could do whatever we wanted, and there was nothing tied down. Show up whenever you want, you know. And Dirk, but you need to produce good tattoos.
Right.
But hey, man, you pay the rent. It's your spot.
Something like that, like where you have that much freedom, does it make it more difficult to show up, or is it?
No, because I needed to do. I couldn't get a job at a car wash. People wouldn't hire me at a car wash because I just got out of prison.
Right.
Had no experience. What was I going to do? So if I didn't find tattooing, I would have been right back in prison. You know, I owe everything to tattooing. I have a great deal of respect for it, and for the people that stay true to it. So, in working at that shop, you know, and you'd see Dirk, he'd show up and Dirk would be mopping the floors. Dirk would be cleaning everything. He have art shows for us. He was constantly promoting the shop. You know, he is a great man, you know, and I have a great deal of respect for him because he allowed you, it's up to you. You make whatever you want out of this opportunity. I'm giving it to you. And you know, everybody that came through Vegas at that time that were great tattooers tattooed at Pussycat, so you're able to learn. You know, it had a great name, you know, and then since then, everybody that I was with at that time has since opened their own shops, their own great shops, you know, in Vegas, and they're the best shops in Vegas. That had to come from somewhere, you know, so you create this atmosphere, and then hopefully it gets passed on.
My camera stops recording at 30 minutes, so I was at like 29, so I just stopped and restarted, so you can continue now.
I can go now?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, through that coming out, I had met my I moved out here, and I met Sean Worcott, who owns Empire Tattoo over here. I had actually asked him for an apprenticeship when I first started tattooing, and he shot me down. And he said, nope, get out of here, and kind of laughed. But that's just Sean. A couple years later, he called me and said, hey man, you want to come work for me out here? And I was like, yeah, I'll come out and do a guest spot. And I was very proud of that. I was very proud that Sean had called me. Man, I have a great deal of respect for this man, and I still do, you know. And so I came out, and a couple of the guys that were over there, I came out to guest spots, went back to Vegas. You know, started hanging around Redlands, and I was like, man, this is cool. This is a cool place. We don't have buildings like this in Vegas. You know, we don't have, you know, just the people that you can go out and you just see people and they're cool.
Yeah.
And I never experienced that in my life, never. And it was that, and then a couple of the guys ended up getting fired from there, and they were opening up another shop over here. And they just said, hey, you know, my friend Aaron that opened up Tattoo Revolution, he said, hey, Seghers, you want to come work for us? We open this shop? And I go, well, what am I going to do? You know, where I got to find a place to live. He goes, you just come live with me. And I said, all right. So that was it. I went back out to Vegas, grabbed that tattoo chair that the camera's sitting on, and I had, where's my brown chair at? That chair you're sitting in.
Oh, shit.
I've had that since I started tattooing. I've had that. And I had some clothes. I had my toolbox and my trash can. I bought that trash can because I wanted something nice. And you know, that at one point in my life, that was my biggest achievement, was buying that trash can. You know, having enough money to buy a stainless steel trash can.
Yeah. That's great. Like,
you know, and then I bought a Craftsman toolbox,
you could
and
tell,
that was
like,
it. That was it, man.
You could definitely tell you have pride in what you own. You know what I mean? Because like you said, just you have pride in buying your first stainless trash can. It brings up emotions. You know what I mean?
Well, it's crazy because, like I said, you know, you don't think about it,
yeah.
And then you start to look around, and
like your trash. Like, first trash you bought is sitting in your shop.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you know what's even better? I put that crown on there, and just because I thought it was a cool crown. And I came across it even, man, it must have been when I first moved out here. And that's my friend Jason and Josh, To Die For. So they do all the shirts for the bands and everything like that. That was 15 years ago. They were still my good friends. That's who does all my branding for my shirts and everything. Everything, my easy ups, everything. And then I've got a Brotherhood sticker there. And Worm, that was in that band, he works here. And those stickers have been on there for that long. And it's just, they might just be stickers to people, but it's more. It's more. That trash can, it's like, and you look at it and you realize, it reminds you, it reminds you that at one point you were able to put that and a few other things in your car and move out to California, and that was all you had.
Right.
So I did that. And again, made some great friends. My Brent, Aaron, they gave me the opportunity to move out here, and they've done some. They've been great friends ever since. We've had our little things, but those are my brothers.
Yeah,
they're my brothers. If they whatever they needed, I talked to the moms, I talked to the sisters. These are relationships that aren't going to go anywhere. I worked over there for a couple years. I went out. My friend Kale had always told me, well, if you ever want to work out here, you can work out here. I went over and worked with Kale. Kale was, he's one of the best technical tattooers around. He showed me how to make ink, make my own ink. He's taught me how to paint with watercolors. And at the time, it was just him, me, and one other guy that were painting out here. Nobody was painting. Nobody was doing traditional tattoos. They were making fun of me for using black in my tattoos. And now when I do a traditional tattoo, people are like, "Oh, you do that?" I'm like, "Man, I was one of the okay." So you realize that you become that old dude. I'm that old dude now. But yeah, I worked in Upland for with Kale for seven or 8 years. He taught me a lot. Same thing. We've had our ups and downs. We've had our disagreements, and but he could walk through here at any minute, and
it's just love.
It is, and it's a weird kind of love. But I've always had a problem with telling, if you came here today and I had a problem with you, or I had something like, "Hey man, what's happening with that?" I would ask you.
Yeah.
If you get offended by that, then hey, I'm just trying to figure it out, man. What do you want me to do? You want me to talk crap behind your back, or you want me to answer? And I'm not putting it on him. It's happened a lot with me, and usually people, once I explain that, like now being an owner, I have to tell people, if I leave here and I don't say anything, then we're cool, because trust me, I'm not going to go home and try to go to sleep thinking I should have said something. Right. I'm like, in a sense, I learned that from the dude that punched me in the face about the magazines. I'm not going to I didn't do that again. And I didn't do it again because he confronted me on it. And we were friends afterwards. After he punched me in the face, we were cool. And we had an understanding. I don't want to punch people in the face. I want to talk to them, I want to talk. And, it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. When you do that, people get offended. People don't know. It's like, "Oh, you're attacking me." No, I'm not attacking you. This is respect.
Right.
I'm trying to be respectful to you. I'm trying to understand that. But yeah, worked with Kale. Worked with him for the longest I've worked anywhere. Josh that works here, he worked there. So me and Josh have been working together now for 10 years. I went from Kale, and then I went to 6 Feet Under, and I worked with Corey Miller, who was somebody I respected from early on in tattooing.
Okay, sounds familiar. Well, he was on a couple of shows.
Yeah, he was on a couple of shows. He still is, in my opinion, one of the best, black and gray tattooers that's ever lived. That man used to do things when I was sitting there watching him, blowing my mind. And, and I'd watch him draw it on. I'd watch him draw statues on and all these things. And it was just like, dude, you can draw it on paper and make a stencil and it's cool, And, but that was just Corey, man. It was just Corey. And You know, he just had this cool way. When I also went from Sean's to Corey's, and I had some drawings, and I asked, just because Corey was in a magazine when I was on the bus out here that I was reading, and I was like, man, I gotta go there. And I went in, and Corey came out and talked to me. He sat down and talked to me. He didn't have to do that, you know. He could have just been like, no, we're not looking for anybody. Right. But he came out, talked to me, and I was just some dude with some drawings. People come in all the time, and you know, he sat down, he went through, and he said, this is, you know, hey man, this is cool, you know, keep drawing, do this. And he was very encouraging. He wasn't trying to blow smoke and say, these are the best things I've ever seen. He was just like, man, this is cool, you know, keep doing this, keep doing that. And I was like, all right. And after that, I always said I wanted to do my soft black and grays like Corey, and I wanted to do dark black and grays like this dude, Paul Booth. That was all I wanted to do, was black and gray at that time. And you know, so I left, but I would always see Corey. Then I'd see him at conventions, like, oh man, I want to work. Oh, there's that dude. There's Corey, and you know, but it was always something. It was always in the back of my head, like, okay, I'm gonna go back there one day, and you know, that's like a goal.
Goal, yeah.
You know, I want to earn that man's respect. I want to earn Sean's respect. I want to earn the people that say, you know, people say all the time, well, they tell you can't do it, show them, prove them wrong. So I do, and it fuels me. It fuels me to do it. You know, again, I look back on it now. You know, single mom, moving all the time, switching schools, no dad, out of high school as a freshman, prison at 17. I'm not supposed to be here.
Right.
You know, I'm not supposed to be here. And so, you know, when you set goals, you know, you for me, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I'm going to do it, you know, and you know, when I was, another thing, when I was in prison, sorry to go off topic, or I watched an Ironman triathlon, and I had one friend that was writing me the whole time. Her name's April, and you know, she's still, you know, somebody she's like my sister. I don't know I don't even have a word to describe, you know, what you know she means to me. She means a lot to me, and but I wrote her and I said, hey, you ever seen these things? I'm gonna be on TV, and I'm gonna do one of these days. And it was like, all right, you know, whatever. Oh, cool. That's a good goal. She was always very encouraging, and oh, that's great, Brian. She's the sweetest person, and put a lot of things in perspective for me back then. But so when I got out of prison, I was in good shape, but then I got a hold of some food. And you know, I got up to 300 pounds, you know, and I moved out here, and we were going out every night for 4 years. I was sitting over there at Tattoo Revolution eating El Burrito every day and Mona Lisa's, you know. There was no such thing as exercise at that time. I was smoking a couple packs of cigarettes. The first step towards exercise was when we would go to In Cahoots on $2 Tuesdays, and I'd dance because I was, you know, partying. And you know, so around that time, when I was at 6 Feet Under with Corey, I was only over there, you know, for about a year, and then I started going to 454 in Encinitas, and I was going down there on the weekends, and I was starting to work out, and I was starting to, I couldn't run for more than a minute. I'd run, walk, and I was trying to get it. Didn't have a bike. I bought a little single speed just to see if I was going to ride before spending a bunch of money. Yeah. But I still had this goal. Didn't even swim. I didn't even know how to swim. And you know, around, and then moved that same time. Guy over at LA Fitness said, "Hey man, we're doing this thing. It's called CrossFit." And I was like, "Well, what is CrossFit?" He's like, "Oh, well, just show up, man. It seems like a good thing. I don't know." And this dude,
polarizing. Huh? A lot of people, there's a lot of varying opinions on CrossFit.
Yeah. And but at the time, this dude was like the fittest dude at the gym, and I said, "All right, sure." Yeah. Because also, unless I could tell you a good reason why I'm not going to do it, I'm going to do it. You tell me, "Hey, man, try this." Well, I don't want to try that. Well, why not? Just because you don't want to? You can't say that. So I said, all right. And, he said, well, first thing, just try to do 5 pull-ups on those machines that you move up. You know, you can put your resistance, and then 5 dips every minute for 10 minutes. Couldn't do it with the help, you know.
Yeah.
And couldn't do 1 pull-up, couldn't do 1 kipping pull-up. Started doing jumping pull-ups. Anyways, we started CrossFit over here at Ford Park. There was 5 of us, and it started dwindling to where I was the only one that was showing up. So the guy that was teaching us, he couldn't do it anymore because it didn't make sense to him.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense for him to have to wake up every morning and just teach me for $150 a month. And there was people that would come there like, what is this? Is goofy, you know? And now they're all CrossFit instructors. They're all doing CrossFit, and so now I still implement that into my my workouts. But I started doing triathlons. I met all these, moved down to Encinitas to tattoo. That's where all these people are. There's all these people in the cycling industry, triathlon. That's the mecca. And I just fell right into it. And we're tattooing the heads of all these companies and everything else. So they helped me get a bike. They helped me do this. They introduced me, well, here's a race coming up. Go do this race. And, so I started doing that. I started doing triathlons. So then it became about when I was running around the block, I want to do it faster each time. I want to do it faster. I'm going to add another block. I'm going to add another block until I can run. I couldn't do a 5K. Now I just did the LA Marathon. So when people say, man, I couldn't run like that. It's like, I couldn't run like that either. I couldn't do that either.
But you have that mindset that you want to.
You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to be willing to wake up and do it. You have to, I was still partying when I started working out. So I'd go to the gym in the morning. I'd still be drunk, smoking a cigarette on the way to the gym. And I didn't know anything about calories or anything. I just knew I needed to work out.
Yeah.
And so, but then you start paying attention to calories. You're starting to pay attention to the elliptical machine, and it says you burn 400 calories. And then you start looking at a slice of pizza, realizing how many calories is in that. And then you go, man, okay, there goes that workout. So then you start realizing.
I just put out.
Yeah, you start realizing what you you're not doing anything for yourself. Oh yeah, I'm working out. Okay, so what? And so then you start slowing down on that. You start getting rid of tortillas. You start getting rid of beer. You start getting rid of all this stuff. Start slowing down on the smoking. And then you quit smoking. I quit smoking, and then I would test myself. I'd go out and drink because that was always the thing. Drink and smoke, drink and smoke. And once I was able to, it sounds crazy to think I tested myself by drinking, but hey, I'd go out and drink in a social atmosphere and I didn't have to smoke. And I was like, I'm done.
Killed you.
And, there's been times where I smoked a few more cigarettes, but, now, I mean, when I met my wife, for some reason I was smoking for like a week, and she's so militant in a good way about being clean, to where I didn't want to smell. I'd always wash my hands after I smoked, brush my teeth. It's like, what am I doing? Smoke. What? But yeah, I started racing, and I was still 230 pounds, and I was still moving. I was still moving fast to where I would. So then they had a Clydesdale class, which meant you weighed over 205 pounds, and you were doing triathlons. So I was winning all those. I was winning I was winning in the Clydesdale division, and and then it became like, all right. Well, I'm not going to outrun a 140, 150 pound dude. It's just not going to happen. But I'm going to try to rip his legs off on the bike because I can do that. So, but it was always like, try to make it through the swim. Try to hammer the bike and catch all these people. And then just hold on for the run. And since then I started out with sprint, and I've done...
so biking, you say biking was your strongest?
Yeah, because growing up in Vegas, that was also a thing. BMX, going out in the desert. Me and my friends would just go out in the desert and make jumps and go do that. We would cruise all around. We'd go to Sam's Town and jump the stairs. We'd go to UNLV and jump the stairs. I'd go to Planet Plywood and do all, just do all that crazy stuff, and go to skate parks. Those are churches, man. That's where you meet people. That's what you do. You go and you do these things, and that's why getting the skate park going here in Redlands was so important to me, because it's more than just a skate park. It's more than just some people that you think are,
it's a place to come together.
You have to, man. You have a common you have a common thing. Skateboarding. So it doesn't matter where you come from. If you have a skateboard, here you go, and we're on the same level in that skate park. We're not. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Can you do that or not?
Yeah.
And now, you know, you get in this political stuff, running for city council, and it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if I can run fast or if I can do these. It's a popularity contest, you know, so there's no, well, you did this, so you deserve this. It's a matter of, what do people think about that? What level did you get to?
Getting into that part, like you said, your background, you about 4 years in prison, tattoo artist, now you own your own shop. What is your biggest fear about getting into this political? I don't know shit about politics, and like.
Tell me about it. I had no political aspirations. I've always been I don't want to sound arrogant and say I've always been a leader, but I've never been a follower. Mm-hmm. I've always liked to surround myself with other people that are motivated. So if you want to say, I surround myself with leaders. Mm. I don't lead this shop. I pay the bills, and you know, maybe I lead by example, because of course as an owner, if you're lagging, then you know. But the crew that's here are people that I know if I'm not here, then everything's cool. You know, so opening, you know, again, going from 454, sorry, this gets into this political thing, going from 454 and working down there, and then I was doing appointments up here. I worked at 454 for 5 years. My good friend Brad allowed me to work there for the weekends. Busy, always busy. During the recession, it was always busy. And but my wife was pregnant with my son. She had our daughter. She was still holding it down. You know, I'd go down there every weekend, no problem. And then she was pregnant with our son, and I was like, I have to lock something down in Redlands. I had to start thinking about where am I gonna be when I'm 50. Mm. And you know, my wife's family, everybody's been born at the hospital. They walked across the street from the house that her grandparents built, that her parents still live in 60-something years ago. They've all went to the same elementary, junior high, and high school. Again, I don't know anything about that kind of life. And you know, parents have been married for over 30 years. Grandparents have been, you know, her grandpa's 93. Grandma just passed away. They were married for 60-something years, you know. World War II veteran, Korean War. This man could hop up on the ceiling if his doctor would allow it, if we'd allow it, he could do it. It's crazy. But yeah, so I knew I needed to lock it down. So I started looking for places around Redlands. And I knew the zoning. I did the research for the zoning, and I knew where I could open up a shop. So I'd go when I'd see a spot that was for lease. I'd call them up. Hey, I would like to look at your building. I'd like to, you know, open up a business there. Mm-hmm. And I would go and I'd talk to them, and they'd be all about it. And they go, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Oh, a tattoo shop." And they were like, "Oh," and okay, well, we'll call you. I wouldn't hear from them. And
bakery.
so I wouldn't hear from them, and then I'd see that it was still for lease. So I'd call them a few weeks later, and they go, "Oh, it's rented. That spot's rented. It already got rented. Sorry about that." And then you know, another month would go by, and I'd see the same thing. Or I'd look at other locations, and then, you know, I'd go to the city and say, "Hey, I found a spot." The landlord would be cool. "Hey, I got a spot. The landlord's cool. It's zoned." And then they'd go, "Oh, that's condemned." And I'd go, "Well, what do you mean it's condemned?" That spot is condemned. At the time, I didn't know much about exactly what that meant. And I was like, "Oh, okay. So I can't move there?" "No, you can't. It's going to be destroyed." Those buildings are still sitting there right now. And, you know, so in the meantime, I'm checking out spots. I got people hanging up on me, just literally, "Oh, yeah, what do you want to do?" "Oh, a tattoo shop." And hang up on me. And so then I'd have my wife call. And and right after, you know, the day before they told me it was rented, my wife would call. "Hey, how you doing? I saw you for lead. I want to check it out. I'm thinking about opening a business." "Oh yeah, sure. Come on over. Meet up. We'll meet you there at 3. And then I'd go over there. So then we'd go over there, and I was like, "All right." And we go talk to them, and we get going. And they're like, "Oh yeah, cool. What do you guys want to do?" And it'd be like, "Oh, I'm the one that called about the tattoo shop." And then they'd just, "Oh no, nope." And but I saw the spot over here was for lease. This is the only place. All the other shops on the other side. Mm-hmm. And there was a building over here, and I stopped and I asked Chuck, who used to own the property, about the spot. He said, "Oh, Remax is moving in over there. That'd be cool though, you know, if you open up a tattoo shop. Hey, that'd be perfect." I said, all right, well, I'm just going to keep checking. I'm going to keep driving around, and I'll keep coming back. So I drove around for 4 years trying to open up a tattoo shop. Look at it however you want. Provide for my family. Make sure that my family's taken care of. Make sure that I'm secure. Be a positive member of the community. Open up a small business. And that was it. That was all I wanted to do. And it just wasn't happening. These people were not having it. They weren't having it. And I tried to open up over here, right up the street, and they told me at Queens Jewelers, where the Queens Jewelers is, and they said, well, you have to add 20 more parking spots. And I go, how am I supposed to add 20 more parking spots to this? You can't. And they said, yeah, exactly, you can't. I said, so what does that mean? Who can open up there? And they said, well, if it's a sandwich shop or a bicycle shop, those places are grandfathered in. There's not a bicycle shop or a sandwich shop over there. It's a jewelry store, and now they're doing some other thing over there. They didn't have to add 20 parking spaces.
So why do you think there's this negative connotation of opening up a tattoo shop out here?
Maybe because there's a lot of tattooers that are assholes that have ruined it for us. Maybe. Honestly, but there's assholes in everything.
Yeah.
You could, just because you're a lawyer or you're a doctor doesn't mean you're a great dude or a great lady. It doesn't matter. And I get it. I get it. There's a lot of people that are getting tattooed. They're getting tattooed all over their face, and they want to get pierced, and they want to like, accept me for the. And it's like, hey man, that's your choice, dude. But I don't have to like you. Just like people don't have to like me,
right?
And I don't have to like you, but it doesn't mean that because I don't like you doesn't mean I'm racist.
Right.
Because you don't like me doesn't mean you're racist.
Right.
Or it's just, hey man, I just don't like you because of these reasons. I don't agree with this. Okay, if we can't come to a common ground, what's the point? What's the point? But so anyways, I would drive around. My daughter was a couple years old, and we went out and got beef jerky at Green Spot, and I would literally drive around for 4 years looking for spots. Not just every once in a while. For 4 years, I was actively pursuing this.
During this 4 years, you were still working at
I was working at 454, and I was doing appointments at another shop, and drove by here and it said for lease, and my daughter was asleep in the car. I came in. And I talked to Chuck, who used to own the property, or I called. Chuck said, "Yeah, come meet." And so I brought my wife. I brought Tinley, my daughter. My wife's pregnant. It's like, hey, we're a family. Like check it out. And came in and we did the same thing. Well, what do you want to do? Oh, cool. This is great. Oh, how long you lived here? Oh, great. What do you want to do? Art gallery, tattoo shop. And it was like, oh man. And they even said, they're like, oh. And I said, but wait. I go, look, man, I get it. I said, and I explained to them, like, this is my wife. Like, this is my wife. My wife's family's been here. I just want to open up a shop here, man. Just give me a chance. I promise. I said, I can blow smoke up your ass all day and tell you all these great things that I'm going to do. I go, I'm just asking for a chance, man. And he's like, I got to talk to everybody. And so I just call him. I said, all right, well, thank you for your time. I'd call him and I'd say, hey, Chuck, how's it going, man? Any word? I'm still checking with people. I go, hey, Chuck, if you want, I could give you a list of references. Doctors, lawyers, people that business owners, whoever, you name it, man. And I've got it. And he's like, all right, I'll get back to you. Then a couple days later, I said, hey, Chuck, I don't even need to put a sign out front. Man. My clientele is coming either way. And I said, it's cool. There's not gonna be people out smoking. Like I'm running, I'm doing. If people want to smoke, they can do a lap. It's like, dude, just give me this chance. And then he said, all right, well, one of the tenants, he's concerned about the signs being out and everything else. And I said, all right, cool. I won't put a sign out. I'll just put the name. He's like, all right. And he was being cool, but he has to look out for his tenants. I get it.
So he gives you this chance.
So he gives me this chance.
What does the rest of the community, how do they feel about it?
So he gives me the shot, and I go, all right, because there used to be a wall here, and these are covering that up. It was a day spa, so there were 3 rooms, and this was here. That wasn't there, and I said, all right, I'm gonna open it all up. I'm gonna blow it out. And he goes, no, man. He goes, I'm gonna take a chance and give you a year, and I don't want you to change this up too much to where if we have problems and I get rid of you, I can't find another tenant. I said, no problem. And he's being honest with me. And I said, all right. And I said, well, how about this? And he's like, I don't know. So I brought my friend Chris, who was my friend April that I was referring to earlier. Her husband, they moved out here. He's a contractor. My father-in-law, that man can do anything. And my friend John Barr, we said, all right, we're going to do this. Chuck came in when they were here. And so then he met my dad. He met my father-in-law. He met my friend Chris. He met these other people that weren't tattooers, but they were smart men that, it was kind of like, wait, these are your friends too? And then they laid it out. Chris said, well, we can't do that because there's this here and this here. And Chuck kind of said, you know what, man, do whatever you want. As long as these guys are here with you, and you guys got to do whatever you want. And we said, all right. So we knocked this shop out in 5 days. Those guys knew what was up. They did it. I came in and painted. I didn't know how to build. I learned everything that I know now from that.
Building your own shop?
Yeah. Yes. And then Chuck ended up selling the property to Joe. Joe owns Remax. Joe and I have become good friends. Been good friends with our neighbors. The first day her husband came. He's got tattoos. They started, a tattoo shop? All right. Savarino's over here. My friends are like, Savarino's is over there. We have tons of mutual friends. They're like family to me. So yeah, you've got Joe. You've got, there used to be a guy named Marshall here, old grouchy ass old man that did all the framing. He unfortunately died, man, but he'd be out there smoking. When when we would go get lunch, we'd ask Marshall if he wanted some lunch, is your trash need to be taken out and things like that. And he'd come over and he would do some framing for us, and he'd tell us stories. It was just crazy, man. And then I went over there to get some framing done, and I was like, wow, who did you? This is crazy. You're framing this? And he goes, well, yeah, I did that a while ago. I was like, wait, you did that? And he goes, yeah, I did that. I drew that. I painted that. Sure. And then we had our first art show, and Marshall came over and he had that drawing with that little skull over there in the corner.
Oh, right there.
And I said, oh, this is cool. Who did this? He goes, I did it. I did it when I was at the catacombs. I sat in there with all these dead bodies. And these bodies that were stacked up and everything else, and I drew this, and I did it.
What does that mean, French or?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And so that's where that came from, and then he gave that to us, and it stays there. It's like a little reminder of Marshall.
Yeah.
And but yeah, he used to come in and he'd talk shit to Jake, and he'd just tell us stories. And then I come to find out, Joe goes, hey man, you remember when we were worried about you having signs up and everything else, and people were saying, we were weary about having a tattoo shop. Mm-hmm. He was like, that was me. Joe goes, that was me. And he goes, but I love everything that you're doing. We have the toy drives. Joe, the first year was like, hey Joe, I'm gonna have a toy drive park. All right, cool, just keep it cool. Now it's like, go whatever you want to do, man. Because we make sure people are respectful. Joe's one of the best landlords in Redlands, and he keeps it clean. He looks out for us. If we have a problem, he's here. Yeah. And now hearing the horror stories about other landlords around town, I love this man. He gave me that shot, and he's my boy. And anytime we have fundraisers, I just say, hey Joe, we have a fundraiser. All right, cool. He writes me a check. He supports everything. All these people around here. On West State Street, anytime, I don't even have to tell them what it's going to now. I just say, hey, I need some gift certificates for a raffle. I need some gift certificates for this or for that, for Youth Hope or whatever. Mm-hmm. Here you go. And so now, it went from the toy drives to when we were getting shoes at the toy drive, because I wanted to be able to give kids shoes also. And I'd go to the schools, and the schools where I'd say, hey, I have all these shoes I want to give them to the kids. They were like, yeah, nah, and I just like, well, wait, what do you mean? I want to give your kid some shoes. Yo.
I didn't know there was a door right there.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Jake, this is David. We're just doing a little interview.
How's it going? You doing good yourself, said Jake?
Yeah. Jake.
Nice to meet you, brother.
So we with the shoes, we wanted to give them to kids, so we encouraged people to even bring your old shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a pile of toys, and everybody's like, "Wait, wow, this is crazy." So we had all these toys. We didn't even have anywhere to give the toys to. We were trying to find people to take our toys. The first year, they were like, "Well, what do you?" They didn't understand that we just wanted to give people toys. What's your agenda? What's your motives, or whatever else? And so finally.
I just take the toys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. The Blessing Center. So I met the Blessing Center, Craig Turley. We gave all the toys to them. We did a food drive also. We gave all the food to them so families would have toys and food. Mm-hmm. They had a Santa come over. The moms could pick out toys for their kids, and then they basically had toys that they weren't going to have if we didn't do this thing. Mm-hmm. Hey Danielle. Hi. This is David. This is Danielle.
I wasn't sure if I could speak.
No, yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No, we're just doing an interview.
Okay.
The lady from Kingpin called because they have different clip cords. They don't have black, but she wanted to know if you wanted a different color.
Okay.
So then, the second year comes along and the toy drive and it gets bigger, and we're doing, we do $20 tattoos. You bring $20 cash, $20 toy of value, and the second year it gets bigger, and people are starting to like just show up that aren't getting tattooed. And then they start to see like this isn't just some promotional thing we're doing. We don't do Friday the 13th tattoos. This is to give back.
Mm-hmm.
And people started taking notice. The third year comes along, and my good friend now, Sergeant Esteban Valenzuela from Redlands Police, comes walking in the door, and he's like, "Hey, I have this nonprofit called Blue Collar. We formed it for police officers, separate from the police, but they are police officers." And we buy equipment for kids that can't afford equipment so they can play sports. And I go, all right. And so I said, well, this is perfect because I can't get people to take what I'm trying to give them. So then it was like, all right, cool. So Esteban, they would break the ice. They go in their uniform, and it's like, hey, we have this, we can do this for you. All right, cool, come on in. And so we formed that relationship to where then we're able to go to Orangewood, at-risk kids, as at-risk as you can possibly get. Kids, now I've met a group home with kids that are, boys that are ages 6 to 14. Mm-hmm. They don't have a family. They don't have parents that could take care of them properly. So they're living in a house with other people.
Yeah, I got a friend that he works at a group house.
Over here?
I'm not sure over here. It's
okay.
In, I want to say closer to Fontana area.
Oh, okay.
Like he tells me the stories.
Yeah, man. It's heartbreaking, dude.
Yeah.
And so those are the people that everybody's worried about homeless. Okay, what are we doing to prevent it? These are the kids. This is the next generation of homeless if we're not careful. These kids are gonna grow up hating people. What's their future like? So we've been able to go over to Orangewood. I'm just using Orangewood as an example,
right?
Because I've tried to go to other high schools and same thing. They wouldn't really allow it.
Right.
I go over to Redlands High School. My friend Sean Rigolato, he lets me do projects with the kids. We do projects, and explain the same thing. Make good life choices and things like that will happen. So we go over to Orangewood. I sit on the student site council over there. We do art projects. I bring my good friend Danny Sardano, who's also a sergeant in the police. We go talk to those kids because a lot of them, the only time they've ever been around police has been a negative situation. They've seen them, they're arresting their parents, they're taking their brothers away. They don't ever have a conversation with these police. So I go in there like this, and the kids are like, "Oh, okay. I can be that, all right." And then we start talking, and I go, and this is my friend Danny Sardano. This is my friend Esteban. We bought them after school equipment so they can work out and everything else like that. And then we're able to explain to them, or I say, yeah, so the police came together. Your principal allowed us to come in. The counselors allow us to come in. Business owners are supporting this. So when you get out of school, don't go destroy their bathrooms. Don't go because these are the people that are allowing us to buy these things for you. And then they start like, I never thought about that. They just think these things happen. Then you start, when you're walking around town, maybe they wonder, was this a business? Maybe this is a business that helped us out. Don't go mess with that. Don't break that window. Don't do that thing. You never know. I never had anything to relate to when I was growing up like that. So, my goal, and the same, we, as tattooers, we all kind of, we have the same kind of background in a way. And, fortunately this crew, they understand what the mission is, what the goal is. And for me, it's to make sure that no kid has to go through what I went through to get to this point. I want to be there for those kids to, when Danny went, we were like, what do you want to do? Well, I want to be a nurse. Well, what are you doing to become a nurse? Well, I'm here at school. Well, that's not good enough, man. You got to start looking into things. You've got the internet, dude. You've got your phone. Start looking into how you can get in these programs. And Danny says, you can go to Crafton. You can go here, EMT, police. And they're like, whoa, okay, that's crazy. Spend a little bit of time. Think about how much time you're watching TV. Take a little bit of that time and start going towards that. And then the kids, it's really cool also because they'll come over here afterwards. They'll stop by the shop, and they'll, hey man, and they'll come in. They'll say, man, I need to get my life together. I've got a kid. I need a job. I need these things. And I go, all right, cool. I'll go talk to the laser. They have their gangs on their hands, and I'll go talk to people. I try to figure out these resources. I sit on a board with a bunch of the nonprofits. It's all church leaders and me, and but I'm able to hopefully help them all out.
Right.
They're able to help me out, and we help each other out. I'm able to tell kids where to go. Heidi over at Youth Hope it's beautiful. She brings kids in that they just need a place to go. And she's got food, clothing, everything over there. They're not enabling. She's not enabling them because they have to show progress. They have to do schoolwork. They have to show report cards. They have to get jobs. Otherwise, Heidi's is going to get in their ass about it. And I love her for it. I haven't known her for a long time, but I love her, man. The spirit that she has, it's like, man, you're my hero. Like I want to be like you. And Dr. Paulson, same thing. That man is involved in everything. So I try to be involved with everything that Dr. Paulson's involved with. And then I meet, Caden, he might be 11 or 12, and he did a teddy bear drive last year to get he was in the children's unit over at Loma Linda, so he wanted to get every kid that has cancer a teddy bear for Christmas. So we did a teddy bear drive. You bring the community together like that. And if that little boy doesn't inspire you, man, nothing's going to inspire you to do something good, to help people, or just because you don't realize when you have all of this stuff that when you don't have anything, something as simple as a teddy bear, it could really change your outlook. When you go to a foster home or a boys home or Orangewood or high school or whatever, if you could connect with some kid that doesn't have anything and something clicks, then you're winning. You're helping them out. You're changing the community. We can all complain. Everybody can complain on Facebook and Instagram about this and that and putting up articles that are only half truths. Until you're going to these houses and you're talking to these kids, or you're going over here and talking to these kids, or you're sitting at city council meetings, or you're sitting at other closed door meetings, and you're seeing what's happening, you have no idea what's happening in this community.
Being somebody that I guess starting a business that the community kind of frowned upon, it being such a big part in doing these drives and meeting with these kids, like helping the youth. How does that make you feel as a business owner in Redlands right now?
It makes me I've been very active in the small business community, the local small business community. Sometimes, again, maybe the way I talk about it, maybe it's too aggressive for people. But I don't want to sugarcoat it.
Right.
I want to see results. I want to get it done. Because if we're talking about meeting again in 2 months, that's 2 more months that I'm not able to get my crew a bigger shop. We can't expand. We can't do things. So I think that I always thought that by having toy drives and by doing things for the community as a tattoo shop, then people would go, man, if the tattoo shop's doing it, then we should probably be doing something also. And it's kind of worked. And then other people want to, maybe people just want to take pictures and post that they helped out, or they did once a year, and I'm a good person and all that. But if you're not consistent, if you're not consistently talking to these kids, they're gonna forget about you, man. and they're you know they're going to forget what you said.
Attention spans are short nowadays.
Well, yeah, and it's just going to be another. And plus, if you can't relate to them, they're not going to respect what you had to say. You know, so I get it. Again, I don't live their life every day, so I'm not going to act like I understand everything that they're going through. But I've got a pretty good idea, and you know, there's other cases that are even more extreme. You know, they're way more extreme than me. You know, they've seen people. You know, I've seen people die in front of me, but I've seen their family members die. You know, and they've lost people in that respect, which is horrible. And maybe they don't have anybody to talk to that they can relate to. But they can come over here, and I guarantee you that they can talk to one of us, and we'll be able to talk to them. You know, we're you know, people talk about safe spaces. This is a safe space for them. You know, they can come talk to them. It's a positive place where you don't have to talk about one subject. You know, now when we have toy drives, we have all the businesses that just, hey, toy drive time, and the list fills up, and they donate gift baskets and everything else. So then we're networking also, which is, you know, I'm posting that International Day Spa gave us this basket, you know, and I've known Corey for 12 years. Now she's a business owner. I've known Billy for 15 years. When his family had a little kiosk in the Inland Center Mall, then they had the Edge, and now he owns the State. He owns the State in Victoria Gardens. You know, they're my good friends. And, you know, again, Dr. Paulson, you know, Joe, Saverinos, you know, Dr. Me, Dr. Rao, you know, all these people, Muffin Top, you know, the district, all these people that, and they're my friends. It's not just that I support small business, they're my friends. I talk to them. I find out how things are affecting them. You know, we go through things together. It's not just, we're not connected just because we're small business owners. We're not. There's a relationship. Yeah. So when people think that, you know, maybe I'm just spouting out, oh, I support small business. I want to support our youth. I want to support our police. I want to support fire. Or I'm going to. It's like, no, this isn't a campaign. This is the way that I live. This is the way that we live.
You're not politicking.
We're not politicking, man. And, you know, or at least trying not to. But it's you know, you get dragged into it. And people aren't used to that. They're not used to that authenticity about that. There's always an agenda. There's always a motive. No, there's not. Do things right. You know, do things the way they should be. You know, if you know, if Jake's going to be bummed out on me because you know, I don't know, I did something for the best interest of the shop. It's like, hey man, this is for everybody, dude. Sorry, you know, it works out good for you know, and that it goes with anybody. You know, you can't. There's always going to be people you can't make happy. There's always going to be people that you can't understand, or if you can't understand you, that are going to latch on to specific words that you said, and they're not going to be able to get past that. I get it. You know, so, you know, I used to lash out right back at them, and I'd say, you know, all right, deal with. What do you want to? Okay, how far is this going to go? Because I'm prepared to meet you out back. You're just prepared to write a bad word and never talk to me in face to face. So, you know, because that's the world that I come from. You know, I'm not saying it's the best way, but I know that's the way that I learned, and I also know that I don't want that to come out of me, and you know, so I try not to let things escalate. Also, I've been very guilty of talking a whole lot of shit, man, on Facebook and everything else.
It's easy.
It's easy. Yeah. You get sucked in, and I, you know, and I also talk a lot of shit. Somebody says they're going to do something, they're going to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to talk shit, and I want them to talk shit to me. I want them to drive me. I want them to say, hey man, I thought you said you were going to do this, and then, you know, I'm not following through. So then, all right, hold me accountable. I want people to, you can't just ignore what I'm saying. You can't just ignore the people that are going to city council meeting with concerns. You can't ignore the north side because they're not here on State Street. You know, you have to go over there and you have to talk to these people. They have legitimate concerns. People are getting stabbed in the throat. They're getting jumped. They're, you know, they're dying. And, you know, this is happening all the time. It's not happening. People aren't getting stabbed all the time, but there's things happening all the time in the city that people don't even know about. They don't even know about. And then when the police can't get to a call fast enough, they think they're just sitting around, walking around market night, you know, but they're doing things. And, you know, there's a lot of things going on around here that people aren't aware of. And it's easy to write somebody like me off or discredit me because, well, okay, you don't have a high school education. Okay, you have a college education. What are you doing with that college education? It doesn't matter what you have on paper. You know, what have you done with it in your life? What life experiences do you have to where you can talk to these people and get to know them? You studied them in a book, so you want to go talk to them. You don't know anything about that person because you're reading somebody else's description of somebody else. You haven't experienced that. And you know, so I feel like I can be. The tattoo shop as a whole is an asset to the city because we all come from different, you know, backgrounds, and so we can all bring people in. Everybody gets tattooed, you know. Now we tattoo everybody in the city. You know, we go to market night and we talk to people. We're in their element. Now we have all the doctors, police, fire. People that don't even know they don't even know they have tattoos are getting tattooed here. You know, doing triathlons. I golf. You know, I do all these things I'm not supposed to do, but I do it, and then I make friends because people, you know, great, look at this guy, and then I'm actually good at golf. So now this doctor wants to be friends with me.
Like golfing is the craziest thing that you said you've done so far.
Golf.
Yeah. Like out of the whole story, like I wouldn't have expected golf.
Yeah, man. People don't think I can. They don't expect me to golf. They don't expect me to run. They don't expect me to ride bicycles. They don't expect me to work out. They don't expect that I surf, you know, or maybe they did probably surf and use a given, I guess. Probably think I skateboard or something else. And, you know, there's all these, you know, whatever stereotypes or whatever you want to call it, man. So it's getting people to relate. It's getting, when you called me and I didn't know you and you said, hey, man, I've got this event going on. And it was like, okay, come by, show me what you got. You were here the next day, I think, or maybe even that day.
I think so. Like we scheduled a day, you know.
Yeah, and you had this program, you know, and you know, street glyphics, and it was, you know, you get a hip hop community, and it was like, oh, okay, you get it, and you know, okay, well, what is it for? Well, I'm just doing it. Okay, you're just doing it. All right, perfect. You know, who's it going to benefit? What are we trying to do here? Are we going to do something for kids? What are we doing to get the community involved? You know, and you said you talked to the music changing lives dude, and he didn't really have time for you.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's like, no, I'll get into that later. Yeah. He didn't know you. He didn't know you, and it's fine. You know, it's not fine, but I get it. We do have to, you know, in a sense, prove our legitimacy. You know, what are we doing? Right. But you know, I went to that event. You know, tattoo shop, just hanging out. You know, and you meet, you know, C3 comes up and he's talking to me. Renato, yeah, the dude with the dress. Yeah, man. Renato comes over. Hey, man, nice to meet you. You know, Figures there doing some of the best graffiti that are around with his lady. His lady's over there killing it. Yeah. You know, Dewan's next to me. Me and Dewan have mutual friends. We've never met before. You know, it's all about, you know, you have to say hi to people. Otherwise, yeah, okay, you've only met negative people. What have you done to meet positive people? I was a very negative person. I didn't say hi to people, you know, and now you say hi to people and you meet. All of a sudden, you realize how many connections you have, how you're connected, and you know, Street Glyphics is a perfect example of that. It was all love over there. You know, Daryl's over there doing something that nobody else is doing, and we're all standing there. He's got electrical tape, and you're going, "What is this guy doing?" And he's crushing it. He's out in Romania right now doing something.
Yeah. So now you think about, you do something like that in Redlands, you know, and you say hip hop. Well, hip hop, man. What are we? Oh, we're great. You know, what are we talking about here? We're talking about Ice-T, you know, or what's the deal here? And they don't realize that it's the cultural, you know. Growing up, I wanted to be a freaking b-boy. I wanted to break dancer. I wanted to head spin. I wanted to do windmills, you know, and you know, it's another thing that people can't believe. But if we had this in Redlands, and we had Figure there doing that kind of stuff, we had people, Renato doing spoken word, you know, and we had I mean, even I don't remember the dude's name, but the bigger guy that got on the turntables at the end, and he was just dancing, and it was just like, oh man, this is the greatest thing ever. I just wanted to stand there and watch that dude dance and just be happy. It's like, how can you not be happy in that kind of situation?
Man. He's a character.
Yeah. So Man, it was great, and we need to have that here. I hope the ladies at Olive Market can make that happen. That's another thing. City Council, okay, why are we not having these events? Why is this not happening? That brings the community together. It exposes people to new things that they would never go to.
Right.
They don't have to come to you. They don't have to go to San Bernardino or LA. You're bringing it to them. You're making it accessible. Just come check it out, man.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, hey, all right. But at least you know. You can't say you have a problem with something unless you have a solution or you have a better way to do things. So, I mean, really that. I think that's the bottom line. Getting past this tribalism of, this mob mentality and everything else. You have to. You have to be careful with what you say, but your words, your words are spears, I guess. I don't know, man. People get so offended, but they don't want to. They get so offended, but they don't want to talk.
Yes, I find myself having to think about. Because I'm horrible with words. I just say what comes to my mind, so I have to like sit down for a few seconds, like, how is this person gonna? Because like I said, like
you might mean you mean something, and then they go, well, why don't you just? You're saying this. You go, no, that's exactly what I was trying to say, but you took
one word out of context. A whole relationship.
Yeah, and dude, we sit here. One of the best parts about being a tattooer is we just sit here and we talk. We talk all kinds of crap about each other, and we joke around, and it gets wild to where when people come in here, sometimes if it's their first time, we have to say, hey, we're just joking, like we're not really, bashing on anybody, we don't want them to think that we're just picking on Danielle because she's a lady, it's like, nope, everybody else gets it the same way, and she'll give it right back, and, I would like to think that. I hope that people are honest with me. I like to surround myself with honest people. I hope if I'm an asshole or if I'm doing something stupid that I have good enough friends that tell me you're making it, you're doing that. I want that, and I hope, and those are the people that I want to surround myself with. So my friends, I'm proud that they're probably the most diverse group of friends around. Again, I'm introducing police to kids that would never talk to police. I'm introducing, and vice versa, and getting them to understand that these guys are here. They have a job to do.
Everybody's trying to look out for everybody.
In the end, everybody wants the best for our kids, right? I hope, right? So let's set a good example for our kids. Let's continue to do these things. Let's continue to have these conversations. Let's continue to push for street glyphics. Let's push for those things. Let's get more community events going. Let's not just have an event over here that these people go to and an event over here that these people go to. We need to, people talk about being all-inclusive, but they're only being all-inclusive to the people that agree with them. It's like, no, man, it doesn't work that way. You have to be open to these things, and you can't attack them. Maybe you need to have a conversation. You might not agree on one thing, but you might agree on 9 other things.
Yeah.
And then you might be able to find a common ground on that last thing that you don't agree on. I don't know. I do things a certain way based on life experiences. Sometimes people think, "Wow, man, he didn't even think about that, and he did that." But it's because I've been in situations where I know where it escalates to. So I'm trying to cut it out, and get rid of the unnecessary. Time that's wasted, unnecessary money that's being spent on unnecessary things that's not having an impact. I want to see things happen in the city. There hasn't been a significant change in the city, for years. There hasn't been a significant change in San Bernardino for who knows how long.
Right.
So in Redlands, we change things. We make things better for everybody, And then, maybe Highland goes, man, check out what Redlands is doing. And then Rialto goes, check out what Highland and Redlands is doing. Yeah, but we want to help everybody,
right.
But if you're sending things out, you're not seeing how it's being used. You don't know where that food's going. You don't know where that money's going. And it sucks because your heart is in the right place. Here, you can go to Heidi. You can say, this is what I want to do. You can go to that group home. You can go to Dr. Turley. People drop off stuff all the time. Hey, I have this. Where can it go? I'll take it to Brandy Daly. I'll get, she's taking care of the single moms program. So there's so many things going on here that aren't being addressed, but people are again, you're posting articles about, oh, this is so sad, and you're okay, so here, guess what? That's happening right here. Let's go do something about it. So, just getting, again, doing more than just raising awareness, going into action. And I guess that's the goal, man. That's the goal with city council. Again, people started asking me to do it, and we laughed. And then, my good friend Rudy Lozano from the north side, I respect that man to death. And, he's a good friend of mine, and I love him. And he came in here, and he's done a lot of work for the north side. And so now we have the Christmas block party where we give all of our toys to. It's with the police, and there's a line of people, man, that needs just toys. That's it.
Yeah.
And Rudy was able to get me in there, and now we do the backpack giveaway with school supplies before school.
Sorry, you posted
Yeah,
that.
and so it's you have the police, they're easy up, rendition tattoo easy up, CHP easy up, and the fire easy up. And people are like, oh, this is crazy. But guess what? All those kids from the north side and all these kids or wherever they're from that don't really talk to police, they're coming to our booth and they're getting supplies and they're talking to us. And then we go, hey man, make sure you talk to these guys. These guys are cool. These are cool.
Yeah.
The chief stops by and he's talking to me. The fire's coming by and they're talking to me. CHP's talking. When are they going to talk to somebody like me? You know what I mean? And but these are we've gotten to know each other, and we respect each other, and we realize that we're able to utilize each other for the good, and again, it's all about networking, man. If I send to people that are getting tattooed over to Jack's Toys, then now these people that you might not get as a clientele are going over there. Jack's Toys, in return, Mike and everybody else that's awesome over there, they have, where'd you get your tattoo? People go into their store. You ever go check out Rendition? So now it's working. There it is. It's that simple. It's that simple, man. And it's such a hard concept for people to grasp. It's that simple. It's free. It's free. Reshare something on Instagram or Facebook. It's that easy. We don't need to spend $1,000 on these crazy advertisements and all that. Word of mouth. Do what's right. Continue to do what's right.
Okay, let me change the battery. Alright, so final question is, I know you're kind of in a minority of cats coming out of prison. You have your own business. A lot of people, they kind of get cycled in and out through it. So you have experience of going through that and talking to the youth and building them up, because you guys have something to relate about. What advice would you give a young entrepreneur or artist, coming up right now, keep them motivated on the right path?
Well, I guess an artist. Luckily for tattooing, it is a business. Mm-hmm. As an artist, what you have to, that's all, based on opinion, what's good and what's not. So somehow you have to get in with the right people that say you're good, and then you're good, in a sense. With tattooing, you can at least tell what's a good tattoo and what's not based on the lines, based on how it heals. So there are tangible things that, it's not just like I'm creating art, I'm doing my own thing, I'm painting and I'm splattering stuff everywhere. As a business owner, people think I'm crazy, man. Now I have 454 down there. My friend told me that's why I've got 2 shops. Fortunately, I have an amazing wife that holds us down, and then I have an amazing crew here. I can't say that enough. But you have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. I still want to open up a restaurant to where it's all about profit share, getting these kids jobs. But also, if the restaurant's doing good, you're doing good. If it's doing better, you're doing even better. Mm-hmm. So create something that involves the community. Don't just, vape pens are hot, so I'm going to open up a vape store. How long is that going to last, man? Is that sustainable? Don't get in too deep. Don't borrow a bunch of money from people that you can't pay back. I opened this shop on, I got hit on my bicycle training, so I was able to open this shop with the money from that.
Yeah, don't worry about the medical bill. We're going to the shop.
Yeah, luckily that all got taken care of, so it all worked out. And find a business owner that you respect. You know, there's a lot of good business owners. Fortunately, if I'm going to open up a restaurant, do I have restaurant experience? No, but I know John Darby. That dude's one of the hardest working men around. I know Dan, who owns a Citroen. I know Billy. I know Dave and Aaron that own a district. I know cooks. I know chefs. I know bartenders. I know all the best around. So I wouldn't just go try to do something I don't know anything about, or I'm not confident that I can put a solid team in there, and with the same goals, with the same outlook on the community and business in general. You know, creating a family atmosphere, not just everybody out for themselves. So there's all those things I take into consideration when I'm making these decisions. I just want to open up a business. You know, it's an investment, and hopefully it helps other people out. You know, get the kids. I tell them, surround yourself with people that are driven. So then when you go to do something, you can count on these people. You know they're showing up every day. You know, they have that discipline. You're not just, oh yeah, it's cool, man, come on with me. You know, like, these people have proven themselves, and if they haven't, then hey, sorry, you can't just all of a sudden say you're going to do something because of this circumstance. You know, you should always be. That's why I say, when people say, well, how's the campaign going? You should always be campaigning. You should always be campaigning. You don't turn it on and turn it off just because there's an agenda, you know, a persona that you're trying to create, or a character. You're a WWF wrestler, you know. That's all you are at that point. If you're, you know, I'm campaigning, I'm gonna do this, you know, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, you know, and then the camera's off, and then you're just, well, what happened to what you said when you're on camera, man? You know, or what happened in that photo?
It's the promo.
yeah. So be prepared to network. You know, you have to network. You're not in this on your own. You have to bring the community in with you. You have to integrate yourself into the community, because without that support, man, nobody's going to believe in you. They'll see right through it, you know, and they'll eat you up, and it'll be shown how fake you are. And then all of a sudden, you got to start having sales. You're not selling enough, and then you start making bad decisions. So then you've cheapened yourself. And then your business is done, because when you try to bring yourself back up to a certain level, everybody's going to remember you for being that dude that was just, you know, hammering things out just to make money, you know, or selling the cheapest product just to make money. Now all of a sudden you want my respect. It's like, no, dude, just be cool. People will see it. People will see it, man. You know, everything that we've done here has been through that. It's been through, when I opened the shop, I thought I was prepared to sit here by myself. I didn't want to just hire people just to make money. You know, Rob came along early on, then Jake came along. Like I said, Worm came along. These are all Josh, and now Danielle just started tattooing. So all with the same goals, the same way that we believe tattooing should be done. We all tattoo differently, but we all believe it should be done a certain way.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Came up from the same tradition.
Exactly. We believe in the same things. We believe in the same things. We all tattoo differently, and you can make that happen. I say go for it. Go for it, man. You want to open up a business, go for it. Even my crew here, I love them, but I encourage it. If there's something else you want to do, make sure to do it, you know, or you want to open up your own shop, do it. And if I can help you, then I will. You know, I want everybody to succeed, man. I want everybody to go down to 454 and tattoo. I want them all to, you know, do the same things. You know, I try to, everybody here, the whole crew gets paid a higher percentage than I'm pretty sure anybody else does. You know, I try to make sure that I try to make the environment as comfortable as it can be. They just come in and tattoo, hopefully. I try to make sure there's supplies. I try to do all that. You know, and just create business for them, because otherwise it's just not fair.
Right.
You know, you can't be that dude that's out buying a new boat when these people can't even pay their rent. It's not right. You know, or you know, they're providing for your family. You know, you should provide for them. They are your family. If they're not, then you're in it. You're in it.
You're like, nah, but I got this new boat.
Yeah, you know, you're in it for the wrong reasons, man. You know, you go to Savarino's, that's family, dude. They're all family over there. Dr. Paulson's, they're all family, you know. Those people love each other. They go and they do things together all the time. You know, there's a few businesses where it's like that, but you know, it's sad that there's not more.
Right.
And that's what I want to see. And
I think it's a fear, like people, because we say an entrepreneur, people think about, like, it's instant, you know, you're like, oh, if I'm going to go open a business, it's going to be an instant success, you know. You don't see that work behind, you know, because like you said, you was 4 years looking for a building. You know, and if you were to tell somebody, you know, that they came in and seen the shop and you tell them that and they want to be an entrepreneur, they have a whole new aspect of what's going on.
And now we're 5 years into the shop. Next month, the end of this month is 5 years. And, you know, Rob and I used to sit here and the phone wouldn't ring. You know, nobody was coming in. Luckily, we had people that were already getting tattooed by us. The phone wouldn't ring, you know, and we'd clean just about every day just because we didn't have anything else to do. Every other day. And, you know, we'd sit here and we'd draw and we'd paint. But, you know, we weren't making, you know, a bunch of money. You know, we weren't. And, you know, we're still not making, you know, we're not able to retire. You know, we're not making a ton of money, but it's busy enough now to where we can have more artists. You know, people. You know, Danielle just started tattooing. She's busy. She does great tattoos. You know, Jake's busy now. You know, Rob's busy. Everybody does their thing. So, you know, it's up to you. It really is. It's up to you what you're going to do. Of course, tattooing, I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. I knew that, again, I had talked so much shit about the way people ran their shops that I needed to prove that how I thought a shop should run, is it going to work or not? But I needed to find out, man. And I had a very specific thing that I wanted to do, and I wanted to prove to everybody that it would work. And I feel that it has. You know, I haven't strayed from that mission, you know, that original mission. You know, we're sticking to it, you know, and you know, the world of Yelp isn't going to hold us down. And you know, which, by the way, we don't advertise on, and we still are all right. You know, we don't have to pay people to, you know, take our stuff down. And I just encourage people. And the other thing with small businesses, I also encourage the community to go support these small businesses, because you have to understand that these people, it's staying here in the community. You know, these people are their kids are going to the same school as you. You know, we have to support our police, we have to support fire, we have to support the skate parks, and we're supporting these things by shopping local every day as much as you can. Of course, Target has things that you're not going to buy at, you know, downtown or wherever. But if you make an effort to go, you know, a local record shop before you go on, you know, whatever it is, and you're buying those things, you're supporting something that's true, you know. And that dude's struggling probably, you know, it's hard. Yeah. So, you know, support that dude, support that guy, because that guy's going to support you. He's going to go support Dave. Next time there's street clippings, that dude's going to be there, you know. And then we see that sense of community, you know. So whether it's small business, the youth, whatever it is, whatever you support, just make sure you're going all out on it. You know, don't half-ass it, and don't wait for anybody to do anything for you. Don't wait for the city to hand you a building to go to, because they're not going to. And then when you start building, man, you're going to have to pay for all these ridiculous permits that you make absolutely no sense. And then you're on your own after that. Once you get open, you know, there's not, besides the relationships that you build, it's on us as small business owners to look out for each other. Trust me, I've talked to the people that are supposed to help us. They told me the same thing. It's on you. So you know, it is. So we just keep supporting each other. Encourage people to open small businesses, you know, and come together. Like-minded people, like-minded individuals, come together, create something. Just because it's not there doesn't mean that it doesn't need to happen. Don't let people tell you you're crazy for opening up your own business either. Just do it, man. Start small. You know, go to market night. If you have something for sale, go to market night. Sell it. See what the response is. If you have some good food you're cooking at home, everybody tells you make good food. Go to market night. Sell it. See what the response is before you go invest in a business. And you can build a clientele that way, and that's everywhere. It's in all the local cities. You know, there's a local farmers market in every city. Should be close enough, hopefully. And you go from there, man. And there's a route for all of that. And then, you know, don't give up, you know, and make it multifaceted. So don't just sell books. Don't just sell children's books. Sell You know, you have your stuffed animals, you have this, you're doing different events inside of there. So then you don't have to depend on just one thing.
Right.
You know, and when you're not selling 10 of these, you say you have to sell 10 of these a day or else you can't pay your rent. Well, instead of having to sell 10 of these a day, people can also come in and they could buy one of those, two of these, three of this, you know, or whatever as the day goes on. So then, you know, you're more appealing to a wider clientele.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it for small business, man. You know, of course, there's financial things, but again, as a kid or as a person in the community, you're out walking around and you're being cool to people. People are going to remember that, and they're going to see your hard work. When I was going to open up the restaurant, I needed $150,000, and I was like, wait, what? I don't have $150,000. And you know, my friend that was helping me with the building, he said, no, people will invest in you. And I was like, what are they going to invest? Well, you're going to invest 150 grand in me? He goes, yeah, they will. People believe in you, man. I said, all right. So I started talking to people. I had 150 grand. People were ready to invest 150 grand within 3 weeks. I had it raised. I had 150 grand. I had everything I needed for that restaurant. And
the
you
amount
know,
of trust that you've built, that has to be.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And because then I look back and I go, man, how did I get in this position where people are asking me to run for city council? You know, how did I get to where people do try, and you know, how did this happen? And I guess
It's like a blur.
it is, yeah, it is. You stick to what you believe in, man. You know, and you surround yourself with people that are good people. Don't be afraid to walk away from assholes. You know, don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of not being popular. Don't be afraid of that, man, because people are going to respect it, and then they're going to realize that you walked away from them. At some point, they're going to realize you walked away from them, and they're going to come back to you, and they're going to say, you know what, man, you were right. And if you wouldn't have walked away from me, I would have kept doing the same things because I would have never realized what I was doing. They've done it to me, and it changed my life, you know. So I think all those people, you know, it's you know, again, it was all a dream, you know, and now that whole song, man, you know, I mean, I get chills thinking about it, dude. Every time I listen to it, it was.
Cheese, eggs, and Welch is great.
Yeah, you know, man, you know, it is, dude, it is, you know, and you know, literally went from negative to positive, and don't ever think that you made it. Don't ever think that you know, it's like there's people that say satisfaction is the death of desire, and it's true, you know. So I could just sit back and go surf and you know, hang out with my kids, but I don't want my kids to be sitting here in 20 years having these same conversations about what's wrong, you know. So that's my main driving force.
And where can everybody reach you at, social media wise? Where's the shop at? Where can visit?
Social media, Facebook. We got Brian Seghers. We got Brian Seghers for City Council. I've got Instagram. I've got Brian Seghers, B Seghers 1 on Instagram. I've got Brian Seghers Tattoo on Instagram. I've got Rendition Tattoo on Instagram. I've got 454 on Instagram. I've got Seghers for Redlands on Instagram. All the other emails are on those links also. So I mean, I check them every morning. You know, I'm checking all these pages every morning. The Seghers for Redlands one is a campaign one. You know, so it is driven to introduce myself to people. So and I interact. If people ask me a question, I interact immediately. It is there to expose this mission to as many people as possible. So don't get offended if, you know, maybe I'm not following you back or something like that. Like, it's not, I'm just trying to give people options. And besides that, anybody can come in here any day. Anybody can come in here any day and talk. You know, they don't have to get tattooed. They can come in here and talk. They can have a sandwich, come over here and talk. But yeah, yeah, that's it. Best thing to do is stop by, call, shoot me a message. Easily accessible.
Louisville for finesses, you never know when the devil's gon' test you. Top notch posse want the most, not the lesser. Used to keep my dope zip locked in my dresser. Got to keep my scope on swivel for finesses. You never know when the devil's gon' test you.